Hi, I'm Angie Wells. I just want to thank Gail for having me today. I'm so excited to be here on Alternative Venues for Jazz. And today, actually, I am going to just talk about a few things. I will be spending a bit of time talking about my new project, which I'm really excited about. Um, it was produced by the wonderful and amazing human being and composer, arranger, musician, the legendary John Clayton. Produced my new project. The project is called Truth Be Told. And we recorded it in the end of the summer of 2022. John agreed to produce it for me, and I am so ecstatic about that because having him really helped me to just feel like I was on the right path. The guidance that he gave was just invaluable. So, anyway, I'm going to talk more about that later, but I'd like to just chat about some of the reasons why I did the album and some of the music on it. As you guys know, we all were shut in 2020 with the pandemic, and there was a lot going on in all of our lives, not necessarily with personal interaction, but just things in the news, what was happening here. Oh, hi, Gail. Thank you for having me. um, I I was watching the news when, unfortunately, George Floyd was killed, and I remember sort of feeling at that time that we had come to a place that was very uncomfortable, um, to say the least. But I also felt mixed emotions. I felt anger, I felt sadness, but I also felt this sort of hope when I saw so many different types and different cultures of people coming together to protest that injustice. And I wanted to sort of use my music to contribute in some sort of way, but didn't really know how. And the song "Truth Be Told" came to me actually on its own. It just sort of appeared as music, and then I wrote lyrics to the sound that I was hearing, always hearing it as an a cappella tune. And so, after I created or wrote "Truth Be Told," I basically felt like it was time for me to do a new album. There were a lot of things that I wanted to talk about, not all, heavy things, but just life in general, as we were going to be hopefully coming out of the pandemic. And so I began to write songs about other things that I'd seen, things that I'd lived through, hence the name Truth Be Told. Um, I wanted to tell truths about my life, be it issues of love, joy, sadness, um, heartbreak, all the things that, most people go through at least once in their lives. Um, and I wanted to talk about it in relation to my life, but also in a way that connected to the lives of others, because we all are here on this earth together trying to eke out a little place for ourselves and to live together. Most of us are trying to do that. So I wanted to focus on things that we had in common, that also were truths that related specifically to my life. Hi, Rose Jones. Thanks for joining. um, we we basically, when I decided to do the album and to pick the songs, I chose songs that were songs that were stories or told stories about things that I felt were important in all of our lives, and also specifically again to my life. I also wrote uh, four of the tunes for the project The first was obviously the title track, Truth Be Told. The second song that came to me was a song titled that we titled Where the Living is Good. And Josh Nelson, who's a wonderful pianist, was my writing partner on two of the tunes. And then John Clayton was my writing partner on one of the others. But Where the Living is Good, I wrote with Josh Nelson. And basically, it is the story of, unfortunately, we have a large homeless problem in Los Angeles. And so I wanted to write something that spoke to that. I also wrote another tune that's a fun tune called Talking All Under My Clothes. And I've actually performed that a few times and had several singers come up and say, okay, that's it. You have to send me the lead sheet on that one because I want to do it. It's a really fun tune about flirtation and something that's light and fun in life, but it's something that I'm sure most of the ladies have all experienced. And then one of the tunes that I have to say, it's my favorite tune to dance to. I can't stay still to it, is the tune I wrote with John called There's Always Time for Lovin'. And we did a bit of a second line groove feeling on that one. So if you like the jazz of New Orleans and that second line groove in New Orleans, you will definitely enjoy that tune. And I talk about, how we're all busy, but we've got to make time for loving. It's a fun and upbeat dance tune, basically. It's got a great groove to it. After I sort of wrote those songs, I knew that I needed to, I wanted to choose some covers of songs or to do some covers of songs that I felt were really relevant to my life, but again, spoke to all of our experience, the experience of humanity. So, Shirley Horn's tune, she didn't write it, but she made it famous. Here's to Life was one of the tunes that we've done on the album that it's really so universal. And I think most people, when they hear that song, it's moving. It's very moving. Because it does make you sort of recount life and living and how you've lived it and how you feel about the life that you've lived and the things that we go through in life. I chose Bonnie Raitt's Nick of Time because, again, that relates to the fact that, as we go through life, we do realize that time is not infinite. Life is not infinite. And so there are time periods that, we realize we're getting older, we're sort of running out of time. We want to find love in a certain amount of time. We'd like to have children before it's too late, if that's what you just so desire to do. So I just felt that song was another universal truth to life. There's a gentleman that I know named Ezra Wise, who wrote a lovely tribute song to Shirley Horn. And when I heard that tune, I just thought it was so beautiful. Not only did it relate to the fact that he had wished that he'd met her, but I'm sure there are people that many of us wish that people that we admired, that we wished we had a chance to meet in life, and or even people that we've seen from afar. And I just felt that was a great tune. It always speaks to me, and everyone I know that has heard it always says it really speaks to them. I performed it last week at our CD release concert, and I got a text from a friend of mine who said she had not heard the song before, and she thanked me for singing it because she said it really touched her, and she's been playing it all week, she said. So that's the greatest gift I could get, to know that my music is touching somebody and moving them. Another of the tunes that we did on the album is I've Got a Feeling Everything's Gonna Be All Right. That's a basic gospel standard that was written by Albertina Walker. My great grandmother enjoyed that tune, and so we put that on the album as well. Um, I got into jazz because I just love the music. My dad, um, on Sundays would listen to jazz and blues. That was his day off. And so he would put his albums on and stack them. We had an old-fashioned record player. Back then, we didn't have CDs. We had albums, vinyl. And on Sundays, my mom would, go in and cook the dinner, and my dad would sit, and I'd sit next to him, and he would just play tons and tons of albums. And my dad was an avid jazz and blues fan. So that was the music that we listened to. And I really, from the time I was a kid, just loved that music. I remember my mom said that one of the first songs I ever danced to was a BB King song. She said she put it on for my dad, and she said, I turned around and you were just you're swaying and shaking your head to the blues like a little old soul. And I guess, from the time I was a kid, that music did touch me. I got to meet Count Basie when I was 5 at my school, and he came and played for us. And my mom didn't really believe me. So I came home. She said, how was school today? And I said, oh, this man named Mr. Count came and played the piano for us. And she said, Mr. Count? You mean Count Basie? And I said, yes, Count Basie. And she said, no, okay, honey, all right. And so the next day when she dropped me off to school, she, was talking to one of the teachers and sort of all ready to laugh and say how I had thought that, Count Basie was at the school playing for us yesterday. And the teacher said, oh yeah, Mr. William came and he played for the kids yesterday for about an hour. And my mother was actually, I guess I remember sort of her chuckling, but she said, well, that was the last time I thought you had imagined something that didn't really happen. But I just remember that day him playing, and I remember tapping my feet like I just couldn't stop and rocking in the seat. And I loved swing. He was sort of my introduction to swing. My dad was kind of a bebop and soul jazz listener. And so I listened to more of that with him, but I got introduced to swing through, Count Basie, which was wonderful. And I would go with my mother to jazz concerts. We had our own version of, you have the Hollywood Bowl here. We had the Dell in Philadelphia, which was sort of our outdoor theater. And there would always be, summer music series. My mother would always get the jazz series, and we would go with a bunch of friends, and everybody would take their picnic basket. And so at 7, I was saying Joe Williams and Lionel Hampton and just a whole bunch of folks. That was my summer. And I loved it. And that's how I got into jazz. And which is why I'm still doing it and singing it. And I'm grateful to have had that exposure, that music. This music still speaks to me. And I'd have to say that I may not be most caught up on what's, on the pop charts, but I still I listen to jazz mostly all the time. That's on my radio, or what I'm playing in the home is a lot of jazz. It's just the music that speaks to me and always has. I remember the first jazz album that I got was actually was a gift. And it was called Double Barrel Soul, and it was from my dad. It was his favorite album. And so as a kid, he kind of gave it to me because I just loved it. And it was one of my favorite things to play on Sunday. That was always in the rotation, regardless of how old I got or, what he was listening to at the time. That one always had to be played for me because that was my favorite jazz album. I've been really fortunate in during this time to have some wonderful mentors. And I'd like to talk about that because I think it's really important, not only for us to get, whatever book knowledge we can get, but I think, we have a lot of people who are real experts in the field, and we're fortunate that, a lot of our legends are still with us. Um, but I think it's really important, if possible, to find a mentor, to seek mentorship, um, because with anything, I think any craft, yes, you can learn the academic knowledge, but the real value of how to deal with it in real life, or how to um, put something out there, comes from experience. And I think, learning from the experiences of those who have gone before us, who've sort of paved the way, or who have created things that we're interested in, um, is so, so valuable. Um, I've been fortunate enough, Renee Marie was somebody who I really, really admired. And I read her story and knew that she started singing as, an adult. She wasn't a teenager. And so that was very inspiring to me, because I wasn't a kid when I started either. I mean, what can I say? I still look young, but I just, I was not a kid. And so I needed to see that there was somebody out there who had sort of done it. And I read a lot about Renee and often wanted to try to connect with her. And I had tried sort of on Facebook, and we connected as sort of like, the Facebook friend thing. But I often used to say, wow, I really hope I get a chance to meet her one day. And this is how the universe works. When I am a believer in manifestations. I sort of focused on the fact that I wanted to meet her. Cut to probably 5 or 6 years later, I enrolled in the Port Townsend Jazz Camp that is run by John Clayton. And guess who happened to be one of my instructors? Renee Marie. And so I got a chance to work with her, and we're still in touch. And she has been so helpful and so generous with information and just her spirit and encouragement. Um, it's been wonderful for me to be able to talk with her, because of the fact that, we had that thing in common, that we both started as adults in this field. Um, Obviously, having John Clayton as a mentor has been wonderful, and I was fortunate enough to, it's sort of the same thing. I had reached out to John on Facebook. And, Facebook to me is not, I know they say Facebook friends, but it's hard to say that it's real friendship. It is Facebook friends. And I reached out, and I'm sure, as busy as he is, he gets tons and tons of things. So, you don't take it personal if you don't hear back. But I knew that he was someone that I wanted to work with, because I also have another dream, is that I'm going to sing with a big band someday. So I'm trying to manifest that as well. But I reached out to John because I've really admired his work, and I love big band, and he's the Clayton Hamilton Jazz Orchestra leader of that. And I kept saying, well, maybe one of these days I'll get a chance to meet him. You go to a show, and sometimes you just don't get a chance to meet people. It just is that way. But I happened to be at the Blue Whale one night. I'd gone out to see Marcus and Gene Baylor, the Baylor Project. And at the end of the concert, when I looked over to one side of the room, I saw John Clayton. Needless to say, I made a beeline over to that side of the room and, introduced myself, and very respectfully, and just said that, told him who I was, and sort of what some of my goals were, and what I felt some of my shortcomings were, and the things that I like to learn. And I asked him if, he'd be interested in talking with me, and he said yes. And he's a very generous human being, very special human being, really talented, and willing to share his knowledge. to help others. And we've been sort of connected ever since. I would send an email and he'd always answer and send me guidance. And he's sort of like, I, I call him my fearless leader sometimes because I have to, you, because I just feel that for me, I will be honest, I'm not a formally educated musician. So for me, it is really important to be in touch with those who are to give me guidance sometimes, just in case I'm not taking the smartest or most efficient path. And having John has been wonderful. Josh Nelson, my pianist, is amazing. He's been a great partner to me as well. And Mark Winkler helped with some of the writing. He's been a great writing coach. So I've had a lot of people to help me and to mentor. And I would say that, if you're somebody who's trying to get started in this field, it's always good, and in any field, to try to reach out and find yourself a mentor or two to work with, and know what it is that you want when you do approach the mentor. Make sure that you know what it is that you need so that they can help you. Because if you just go and say, "Oh, well, I need some help, can you help me?" If they don't know what you need, it makes it hard for them to help you. The more specific you are, the easier it will be for them to be able to help you get on the path that you're trying to get on. One of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten came again from another musician. I remember trying to write something and write some music, and I was saying, well, I'm not good at this, and I'm not sure how I can get that communicated, and I want to make sure that I want to write these songs, but I don't know how to get everything down on the paper. And Marcus Baylor, who I will remember this always, said to me, "Girl, just get it out there any way you can. If you have to sing it into a voice recorder, if you have to, tap the drums out yourself, in front of a drummer and tell him how you want it. There's no right or wrong way to create the music as long as it gets created." And so that piece of advice for me was, I don't even think Marcus knows how valuable that was for me. And it really helped me to get past a block that I had to actually write the things that I wanted to write, to get the music out there. So that was a really wonderful piece of advice. The first jazz musician I ever remember hearing. First jazz musician I ever remember hearing was Jack McDuff. And then Shirley Scott right behind that. My dad, again, was just loved all kinds of music. And so there were certain songs that I can still remember hearing. And some of them as a kid, I can't even say that I would necessarily remember the title, but I can remember melodies in my head. But I do remember that the first music that I can remember hearing was jazz. So I'd also like to just say, I'm a real believer in, manifesting our dreams. And I'd like to talk a little bit about that, because I think that when we are creative people, we are people who put out energy. And I think that all of us, whether we are sort of deemed as creative people or not, we all have we all have an energy that um, goes out there in life and kind of returns to us, sort of what we're sending out. And so I want to say that, I do believe that the reason why I was able to do this album and have John Clayton and all these wonderful musicians work with me, and to actually even become a jazz singer, um, was because of the fact that I wanted it, and I wanted it badly enough that I focused on it. And through focusing my energy on it, then other things came into play. I would, meet people. I would find various articles. In January of 2015, 2016, a friend of mine invited me to a I guess dream board workshop. And at that time, I was really wanting to get back into singing and had been, sort of focusing energy on it, but working in my other life. And when I went to the workshop, they had tables, and each table had, bunch of magazines at each seat. And so you had to just choose a random seat. I chose a random seat, and the stack of magazines that were there, every single magazine had something about jazz. Honestly, it was the strangest thing. And either performing or artist. And so that sort of was the first time that I realized, like, I think I may have drummed this up. I cut out the pictures and things that I wanted. I made a dream board. And when I made the dream board, literally, I could say that about 10 of the things of the 15 that I put on there happened, and they happened that year. Now, it doesn't always happen that way, but I do believe in visualization, and positive thinking. And so I'd like to say to anybody out there who is thinking about anything that they really want to do that seems like they don't know how they're going to get to it, don't necessarily worry about how you're going to get to it. Envision yourself, see yourself doing it, and it will come. It will come. And sort of, that's just a little bit of an uplifting bit of advice I'd like to give. I do like to encourage people. And so hopefully, my music is encouraging as well. Um, I'd like to just say that, my music is available on, all the sort of digital platforms, and, it's called Truth Be Told. I hope that you will give it a listen. I think you'll enjoy it. It is quite I've been told it's a ride. It's a bit of a fun journey, and it takes you sort of up and through the hills, and then you go a little bit through maybe a valley, and then another hill, and then a mountain, and then you party. So anyway, I hope you'll take a moment to download and listen to the album. I have a host of amazing musicians: Josh Nelson on piano, Clayton Cameron on drums, Trevor Ware on bass, Ivan Millspin on trombone, Jacob Sesney on the tenor sax, Kai Palmer on the trumpet and flugelhorn, Carrie Frank on the Hammond B3, and Katisse Buckingham on flute. And Larry Kuntz on guitar. Wanted to make sure I didn't miss him. And of course, the wonderful and amazing John Clayton produced it. And so I'll just say this. Somebody said to me, "Oh, John Clayton produced your album?" Then I know it must be good, because everything John does is good. So that for me was a real an uplifter, and I really, really, really hope that you'll go on and take a listen. And I'd like to just also say, in closing, that if you've got a dream, go for it. Um, See yourself in it, believe you can do it, and live your life to the fullest. You can contact me on www.angiewellsjazz1.com. That's my website. Reach out, get on my mailing list so I can keep you abreast of what's happening and any shows that we're going to be doing. And also just to communicate, I do answer. So I'd love to hear from you. Gail, thank you so much for having me today. I really, really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun, and thanks for letting me talk about the album. Thanks to everybody who came in. Rose, thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you soon, hopefully at a live performance. All righty, take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.